for a raise at that budget hearing to Beacon?
There's two things. That statute that says you get paid $40 a day is not in the general board's actual statute. It's in general law. So your statute says you can get paid according to what's in the general law. You can put it in your request, but it won't do you any good if it's not added to your statute or added to the general law. 2 years ago, there was, that statute was open to raise it, and I think they were trying to go to $100 a day. But all of the little agencies were like, wait a minute, I don't have it in my budget. So they were gonna have to redo all the budget things, and I don't know what happened, but it did not pass. So it never hurts to ask, and if you've got somebody who, like a lobbyist or something, they might open up that general law where it's not just the general board's law to get that raised.
One thing that we talked about in our hearing, and Roy's been talking about this for not our hearing, but our meeting, and Karen. One thing Roy's been saying, we need to get paid for all the work we do for the agencies. I've had the opportunity to visit the DFA and the auditor's department, and they basically said the same thing. If we do work for the agency, we should be getting per diem. And in the past, the only per diem we ever got was just for this meeting. And so that's one thing that we'll talk about in the budget when we get to that point. So it would give us some relief in that area. But you're right, I did do the research, and I think it's 25, 3, 25 or 23 or something like that, where it states it's $40 a day. And until that section's changed, we really can't do anything about it. But there's other areas that we can compensate that we have not been compensated before. So we'll have some discussion about that later.
In keeping with that, I found that y'all were not compensated the way that for your travel in the last year. Last year, the legislature said we had to use a trip optimizer system, and you had to take the lowest method of travel. When that was rolled out last July, the lowest method could have been 18 cents a mile if you choose your own car. And about September of last year, that was changed by the Department of Finance and Administration, because that 18 cents was only if you had a pool car, if the state owned the vehicle. Y'all don't own your vehicle, so you still have to fill out that trip optimizer, but you get the cost, the rental car cost, or the 55 cents, 54.5 cents a mile, whichever's cheaper. So y'all have been getting like $50 instead of $100 in your reimbursements. For your day travel that I process, you will be at the rate of the rental car, whether or not you take the rental car or not. Drive your own car.
And I did have some conversation with DFA, Candace Hay, with travel, and she talked to me about how to fill out the optimizer, and I did it for some of us, and we were, it was kind of sad.
Karen and I worked on that this week as well.
Well, a question. If I rent a car, I have to run it back full. Do I present the gas receipt on my personal vehicle as well?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
If you rent the car, then all the costs associated with that.
Right. I mean,
Right.
if I use my personal vehicle.
Oh, no, if you use your personal vehicle, you just get whatever would it be.
Right, but that includes a full tank of gas if you add on top of that, though, right?
No. Okay, have it both ways. That's
No,
right.
no, both ways. If I rent a car, I have to take that 2 day run.
But that only gets 18 cents an hour.
No,
No,
if you
I don't
rent
get
that,
miles at all. I don't get miles at all.
okay, if
Listen-
you rent
listen
that
to
car,
this.
you get it with a full tank of gas.
Mhm.
So
I
when
got
you
it.
return it, you've got a full tank of gas.
Right, I gotta put it in myself, so I turn in a gas receipt that I have to return that car with a full tank of gas.
If you rented the car, yes.
Yes, I rented a car.
If you rented the car. Now, if
Right.
you took your personal car
Right.
and got the cost of the rental car, then you only get the cost of what is on that trip optimizer that already figured the gas receipts. It's very complex.
Yes.
And
But you understand what I was trying to say.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. In some of the boards that we represent, we've actually held board training, and some of that board training was how do you fill out these forms, and what's required, and what makes it legitimate. So we can help you with that. We've also conducted training for the Department of Education on their entire staffs, how to use the trip optimizer. So there's lots of things we can do to help y'all to make sure you're reimbursed the way you need to be. I know, do you want me to take a stop for the,
That's right.
and come I know you've got something that was scheduled at 9 o'clock, or do you want me to just keep going?
That stopping point,
It's up to y'all.
we asked DFA to be here, and they asked a specific time, that was 9 o'clock, to work with us, and so it is 9 o'clock, and we'd like to go ahead and let DFA do their presentation. Prior to that, we had several people walk in the room. If you did not say your name earlier, can you start over here and say your name if you came in?
I'm Laura Jackson, Executive Director of DFA.
Okay, great,
Brian Kemp, the Deputy Executive Director for DFA.
great.
I'm Tina Carter, Budget and Accounting for DFA.
Amy Mason, Director of Central Administrative County.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Hetty Mathias. I'm an anesthesiologist in Jackson.
Okay, thank you. So DFA, we're grounded in, oh, I'm sorry.
Sherry Gwen, MDA President.
Great.
And I'm Trice Sumner, Mississippi Academy of Pediatric Dentistry President.
Okay. So DFA, sorry about the chair situation.
Good morning, how are y'all?
Great, thank you for
I'm
being
gonna,
here.
thank you for inviting us. I'm gonna kick this off, and then I'm gonna turn it over to the ones that are the experts on this topic. Laura Jackson, I'm the Executive Director of the Department of Finance and Administration. Just to give you a little bit of my background, I had worked as the Executive Director of DFA for approximately 2 years, and I'm governor appointee to that position. I have about 29 years in state government. I have worked as the Deputy State Treasurer, and prior to that, I worked in audit for about 13 years. So I have an audit background. I'm very familiar with how the boards and commissions in general function and the responsibility that you have as board members. So I appreciate your work that you do on behalf of this board. So the reason we're here today is that about a year and a half ago, we started having some conversations. And y'all have all read the newspapers, and you know some of the problems that some of the other boards and commissions have run into with the auditor's office. And their fiduciary responsibilities of the board members and some of the things that have occurred in those offices. Funds not being deposited, just the gamut of things within some of those small boards and commissions. So we started talking internally about a year and a half ago about how we can help facilitate some of that. So what we went to the legislature last year and proposed a shared services model. And it was a joint proposition between us and the state auditor's office, so that we could establish an office within DFA and provide shared services for some of the boards and commissions. It was not ever intended, as it's clearly stated in the legislation, to usurp any fiduciary responsibility of any boards. We were not looking to take over any of the regulatory, we were not looking for any investigative authority, anything like that. It was just an opportunity for us to provide back office shared services that would have included things like running payroll for agencies, running, preparing travel for agencies, purchasing, things like that. So, that bill did not pass last year. It passed the Senate overwhelmingly, stumbled a little bit in the House and didn't pass. So what we're doing this year, and we feel like in our regulatory authority for DFA, that we have full authority to provide back office shared services for boards and commissions. So we have already talked to several small boards and commissions. Board of Psychology.
Psychology is the one that we are MOU with, and we're looking at animal health.
We've been meeting with Greg Gold next week. So the plan is, and we've got people already established in our accounting office that can provide services free of charge to any of these small boards and commissions. And we're gonna take on as many as we can take on that are willing to offer these services and can provide them free. Again, we can handle payroll, we can handle travel, we can handle purchasing matters, all of those things, paying the bills, all of those things. Now, they will go through some of the details of what we can offer. With the Board of Psychology was the first one that we entered into an MOU with, and so we detailed in an MOU everything we would provide for the Board of Psychology. And and they signed the MOU, and we've been working with them for several weeks now.
I think you guys should have that, so I sent that over for you guys.
I want to stress, you're saying all free of charge.
All free of
My
charge.
mama told me nothing.
Well,
Well, you know, when the passage of Senate Bill 2362, which was a couple of years ago, no agencies can charge each other for services at this point. Now, at some point in the future, might that bill change? I would say yes, it might.
Okay.
Okay? But as of right now, there is no charging of services, and we don't intend for there to be.
But in the future, it may.
there's a possibility. So one of the other things, and one of the differences is it's an MOU, it's not a contract too though, so you guys can end it whenever you want. So you're not entering into a contract with DFA. It's just an understanding that we will provide these services. And I don't know if you already talked to the state personnel board, but they're offering services. They will provide travel, some HR functions, and payroll too, free of charge. They don't have any intentions of charging in the future for that too, because they have the staff currently to do that for some of the small boards and commissions that's under their purview. So we are working in collaboration with them to provide the other services that they can't, like budget. And I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself again. But just tell you some of my background too. I have a budget background. I worked for the Legislative Budget Office for 6 sessions. I was a finance director for the Governor's Office, and I've been deputy executive director for DFA for 2 years. And I continue to advise the governor on budget matters. I have a master's and PhD in public policy administration with an emphasis on budget and finance. So most of the people that will deal with you guys work directly for me. And again, in comparison to what they provide right now for DFA as far as support, this is very, very small in comparison. But I have Amy Stevens, Amy, old college friend, Amy Mason, who does the administrative services for district attorneys and staff too, because statutorily we're required to do that too. So, and they have a budget that's well over $20 million too. We provide all the services for that. So I was going to let Amy just give you a breakdown of what she provides, the services that she provides for them. And another service that we are offering is the OBRS, input the data into OBRS for Legislative Budget Office for your budget request. So Tina Carter does that for DFA. And again, our budget, we have lots of programs, lots of decision units. We have $60 million total funding source budget. So she will be able to do that. And we intend on hiring people to provide these services as well. So we have the capacity to do it. And it'll be, we would have to take on maybe 40 or 50 boards and commissions to the point where it'll kind of overextend us. So we're more so, we don't want to just say we're going to go and offer this service to all the boards and commissions, because that will be challenging. But again, we're trying to just start out slow. So again, it's all voluntary from the beginning.
Being a devil advocate again, I have a background in military and all these other things here, and see how big brother or big agencies do things. So you're going to tell me, convince me that you're going to be more efficient in our little small operation dealing with a small board, and timeliness, getting things back to us, and getting the process in the proper time, and do it, and we can do ourselves. That's what you're asking me to understand.
Okay. You know, we work with the board to do this. Most of the stuff that you're submitting is coming to DFA anyway. It's just going to a different division. Like when you mentioned the trip optimizer, that's DFA. When you have to send in your payroll, that's DFA. So it's just different divisions. So it won't water down the services at all. But again, it's optional. If you don't like the service, you end it.
Now, down to the dirty details, day-to-day operations, staff would submit to you all the payroll listing, and then you just take it from there?
Correct.
Or just give you the
We
information?
can go and directly pull it from Magic ourselves too. Again, Magic is another function that's DFA.
Right, and then travel and all that. Day-to-day, are they just every day gonna just submit to you those days'
Again,
bills?
we will have access to that, but again, as far as bills, yeah, you can mail the bills, you just have it, you guys can send it over to DFA, or we can always work something out. It'll vary agency by agency, but again, I think it would be really important for you to let Amy just explain what she provides to, district attorneys and staff. And we kind of just, we talk to the agencies, we're not trying to offer a one-size-fits-all solution to all agencies. Some agencies will want us to do payroll, but not want us to submit their budget, and that's fine too. That's just how we will write up the MOU. But again, I'll let Amy talk about what the services that she provides to district attorneys. And again, that's statutory. We don't have an option. We're required to do this. So,
Let me ask you a quick question. Come on, Amy. Come on. I learned what's supposed to last a couple of months before all that is that. And one of the things, they mentioned this 30-day thing here. So you're gonna be operating that 30-day window for paying bills and doing all this stuff in 30 days versus, you know, I know sometimes on my end, it got a little lax. So, but this would be done with the state guideline of the 30 days window that the legislative mandated. I mean, which is a good thing, you know. So, just curious.
so just again, the idea of how big DFA is, we have a lot of reports, we have over 430, so we have to add it to do it. But I'll just let you, hear from Amy.
Your question was about 30 days in the bills pay? Is that your specific question?
Yeah, I mean, the auditor told me, that, I guess for travel and all these other things, a lot of things he mentioned to me, that, that it should be done in 30 days. I mean, by the 30th day, it should have been taken care of. And that's what I was asking, is if we submitted this to you, like, with your MOU, and I guess July 1, we turned our travel voucher into you for reimbursement for our pocket expense thing. You're telling me that by June 30th, or 30 days from that point, that should have been processed and Magic or whoever put it in my checking account for reimbursement.
Correct. And that's something we always try to do. Typically, we don't like to hold work on our desk unless there, heaven forbid, happens to be a problem with the particular invoice on our desk, which we would be working with you to resolve. That would be the only instance I could think of that would hold up that 30 days.
We've never had an issue with processing payments in terms of MDFA. That's never been an issue for us. When we process travel, they process them 2 days a week, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So,
Yes.
so once you turn that information in, usually within 5 to 7 days, it's clear.
I got it.
Again, it's a service we're offering. We're certainly, you know, it's just an option for you. We are providing it free of charge, and as Brian mentioned, it is an MOU. So there is a contract that's to be signed anytime you wanted to step away from it, you are welcome to do so. But we are offering it as a service and wanted to come and discuss that with you this morning. You know, there are a lot of complicated things in state government, and you mentioned the trip optimizer system. What we have found a lot of times in boards and commissions is that you're asking 1 or 2 people to be an expert in budgeting, travel, purchasing, HR, all these things that you're asking 1 or 2 people that are employees of a board of commission to be an expert in. And that's difficult. I mean, it's difficult. We have staff members that are experts in purchasing. We have staff members that are experts in HR. We have staff members that are experts in travel. So that's why I think it has become intriguing, to say the least, to some of these small boards and commissions, because it's hard for them to employ some person and expect that one person to be an expert in everything. So we have the capacity to do it, we're offering the service, but it's certainly your choice as to whether you take it or not.
On the checks and balances side, once we hand over something to you and you're in charge of payroll or whatever, what do we get to verify that it was done based on state requirements, and how do we monitor or keep up with that? You might be able to answer that, but people in the.
Well, we're audited by the state auditor's office annually.
Yeah.
And so I think the checks and balances are built into the structure of DFA already. I don't know that the MOU itself addresses anything specific to that.
I don't think that it does.
We
too.
really
We
don't
do-
have
we
that question come up, but there are, I mean, the structure is there within DFA already.
We're mandated to have oversight, and so what's our oversight over making sure everything's done correctly?
Well, most of the transactions are processed in Magic, so they'll still have access to do that.
We can see it,
You can see it, yes.
but there's no specific report for anything else.
In the
So-
MOU, can we request that y'all report us monthly on the
Okay.
actions y'all
And
took?
that's
our
actually in the
behalf?
That's
MOU
in the
for
MOU.
psychology board too. We will provide, expenditure information, revenue, just whatever you guys want to, similar to what they provide to us at DFA being at the executive level. So you would get that same report. We can submit it to the staff, or we can come and present it before the board, but that's something that I think of in the MOU, the psychology board deals with as well.
The controls, and I'll just throw this out there, the controls, a lot of them are just built into Magic inherently. I mean, the Magic system, when you put documents in and it's looking for a contract, it won't process. So there are a lot of controls built into the system that it won't allow it to process if it's not right to begin with. If it hasn't gone through the proper approvals, it won't let it process. Now, we'll also say, what I call our seventh floor, and that's our group. Lisa Dunn is in charge of that. She's
It's
a
fiscal management.
Okay, go ahead. if you want to.
So right now, like Amy, I mentioned that she provides the services for district attorneys and staff too. She's in budgeting and accounting, so that's one division within DFA. When she submits information, say payroll, she submits that to fiscal management, which is a separate department. Again, I mean, they're more of the regulatory part of it. And same thing with fleet management. It'll be Amy in one department submitting it to Office of Purchasing, Travel, and Fleet Management. Whenever she's submitting a budget request for district attorneys and staff, she's submitting it to budget and fund management. So we have a separation within our agency as well too. But again, like you said, Magic won't allow it. It'll separate it to make sure there's no conflict of interest. But again, the board will still make all the decisions. Amy makes 0 decisions for district attorneys and staff too. We provide only administrative support.
In the MOU with the psychology board, did they set up a monthly meeting with either a member of the board or staff with y'all?
We just have it so that we will submit an expenditure report too, but again, if that's something that you guys want, that's not a problem.
Any other questions? DFA?
On the physical management side, I met with Lisa
Lisa Dunn.
last Friday. The policies and procedures related to physical management. Would that office in this MOU help us set policies and procedures for our boards?
So we can't help you guys set the policies. The
No,
board-
I'm talking about write them. We decide what we want
Oh,
it to
okay,
look
yeah,
like,
so
and they'll
that's-
help us verbiage.
Yeah, that's,
wise.
again, that's another thing that's in the psychology. We will offer assistance in that too.
And so that could be part of the MOU.
Correct, yeah, but we can't.
No,
I mean, we can't.
I had an hour, she
Okay.
told me that many times.
Yeah, I wanted
I'm
to
not
make that
writing
clear,
this
because I had to
for
make
that.
that
I wasn't intending
for psychology
yeah.
as well too, because that.
Because, I mean, we could have, I come from the nonprofit side, and I'm learning a lot about the state side now. And a policy that we may have may fit a regulatory agency and a law. And you don't wanna go against either one of those, and we may have an idea we wanna set it, but not even know there's a law out there that we've gotta follow. And that was a question I was having with her. Can you help us in that area if we wanna come up and set some kind of policy with this board related to depositing money? And, specific example, you gotta have it in by 30 days, or, 24 hours. Well, that would affect our policy and how we write it. So, I left her that day saying, we're gonna be good friends before this is all over. So I'm glad that we could put that in MOU and move forward. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Thank you. Appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
I'm sorry.
Go back to the director's report or current licensee and permit holder statistics.